Hello, so our assignment was who do you fear for the most and why? And so I sat there and thought about this and kind of pondered on it a little bit. I kind of went back and forth between our law enforcement officers who have to face our civilians as well as our military personnel. And I went ahead and decided to go with fearing for our military personnel the most. And the reason being, I guess part of it kind of weighs my decision on because of the amount of family members that I have in our military and some of the things that they have to go through, as well as my dad being in the Navy for 23 years and some of the things that I've had to deal with him being in the military that, made me open my eyes to the things that they had to face, on a daily basis, especially when they are deployed. So, one of my fears with the military, and the reason why I fear for them, is when they get called over for deployment, especially now with the areas that we live in today's world, as we are constantly under battle with, another country for one reason or another. So, the military having to be deployed to be able to protect us and provide us our freedom. I feel for the things that they may come in contact with, whether it be death or having to face IEDs, possibly become crippled, and then possibly sitting there thinking whether their family's still going to want them or not because they come back differently than the way that they went over there. Also, the stress and anxiety that they have to endure from being overseas or being deployed. Also, just their exhaustion and the way that they work or are required to do while they're over there. They don't have any control over anything that happens or that's going on over there. It's pretty sad when the other countries are even putting, taping bombs to their children and using them as a decoy to be able to hurt our military personnel. It's very devastating, very sad. I sit there and I wonder about their food, the medical advice or the medical that they're able to receive while they're overseas. Of course, overseas hospitals aren't as good as some of the ones that we have here in the States. So if they were to end up having a stroke, a heart attack, anything medical concerning, you sit there and you fear for them on whether they're going to get the best care, the best quality of care from what we have, to be able to offer them overseas. And, I am aware that there's doctors and nurses in the military that are also deployed and that are over there with them. However, they may not have all the necessary equipment or supplies to be able to provide like they would here in the U.S. So, that makes me also worry about our medical personnel, our military personnel that are overseas. Because losing someone is not only affecting, that family, but it also affects the medical personnel that worked on that person. They're going to sit there and think if we were back in the States, I would have been able to have access to a lot more medical supplies or medical equipment, and that would have been more easily available to them. And another reason why I fear for our military personnel, I fear for their spouse, their kids, their family members. If something severe was to happen to them, having military personnel come to your door to let you know that something severe has happened, to your significant other, to your spouse, to your dad, to your mom, your aunt, uncle. It's not something that you want to see or have to go through. And then the last reason that I fear for our military is once they decide to get out of the service or, out of the military, them trying to get it back into civilian life. It's, a completely different lifestyle from what they're used to. Them, being in the military, having the routine and the requirements and some of the things that they have to endure, it's very difficult for them to make that transition a lot of them that I know and that I'm aware of have had to go through some type of counseling to be able to make that transition a little bit easier on them. So these are some of the reasons on who do I fear for the most, and then of course why I fear for them.